Hi, welcome back to another episode of my podcast. I've been asked by people in the comment section, how many people does it take to open a restaurant, or can I do it all by myself? The question is pretty much no. You could, but it's not going to be a restaurant. It's mostly going to be a stand, which is a little bit different because if you have a stand, there's no service. If you open a restaurant, you need service. Have you been to a restaurant with bad service? Then you know what that is. It's not going to work out very great, and there's only so much you can do. So it came to the next question where how many people do I need to operate my restaurant? Well, there are two factors here. First factor is what can you do? I reckon if you're a professional chef or you're not really watching this video, if you're watching this video, it's a little bit, maybe you don't have all the competencies required to operate a kitchen by yourself. On the other side, you might have good people skills and you can learn to become a great waiter. So to start, the start off point here, it's gonna be, well, you're gonna be needing two people. The same if you do like a coffee shop type of situation, right? You need somebody to make the coffee and take orders, and you need somebody to move stuff forward. Other things to think about is how many customers you're gonna do and the complexity of your menu. If you do hot dogs and burgers, right, with fries and Coke and Sprite, then you can get away in a medium-sized restaurant. You probably could do, I'd say, 50 customers an hour with one cook in the kitchen and one waiter in front. So simple menu, right? You gotta make what, coleslaw and pre-cook some burgers, pre-cook some hot dogs, and there you go, right? It's like McDonald's. They can do 1,000 burgers an hour with two people. It's, you know, they're set up for that. Your setup will determine as well how much customers you can do. Now, where the trick happens, right? Everybody has these ideas of great ideas of like great recipes and great dishes, more beautiful, and we haven't started talking about how many services yet, right? We're just talking about the complexity of a dish, right? The more complex things, the more complex is your dish, the more items you need to make that dish happen. The more items you need for that dish to happen means more preparation time to make it happen. Also, when it comes to plating, which means assembling the plate at the end, if you have 5 items in your plate, right? Well, it's gonna be very difficult to do a table of 4 people with 4 different dishes at the same time. So if you add 2 tables waiting behind that with complex dishes, then it's going to be a little bit more complicated. For example, if you do a rack of lamb, I have this recipe on my on the channel, you can check it out. If you do like a rack of lamb crusted in the Dijon mustard and fresh bread, right? Well, you had to make the fresh bread. Then every time you get an order, it's made to order. You don't prepare them and leave them in the fridge for a week. There's cheese in there, there's bread in there, there's egg in there. It's all going to go bad very fast, right? So you do it on the spot. So if, let's say you have a table of 4, you have a rack of lamb, you have a fillet, 10 ounces, let's say you have a barbecue pork ribs, which is a simple dish in this case, and you have a bowl of pastas. Well, these things, they take time to make. A rack of lamb is 30 minutes in the oven. You have to sear it, pan it, put it in the oven, leave it there for 20-21 minutes, and then after that, you gotta make the vegetables for it, right? Because when you go to a good restaurant, right? Most of you go to good restaurants and you go to crappy restaurant, and most of the good restaurants you go to, everything is made fresh. It's called à la minute, meaning on the spot, right? We don't have a big tub of pre-cooked vegetables waiting to be put on a plate, right? Every time I get an order for a steak, I stir fry some vegetables, right? They're pre-cut, right? They're ready to go, but I have to. Here's an example. I do a steak, right? I cut fresh from the slab, right? I don't pre-cut my steaks because I don't believe in that. And then I'm gonna weigh the steak, then I'm gonna put the oil, I'm gonna put the seasoning, I'm gonna put the steak on the grill, then I'm gonna go to my vegetable, I'm gonna stir fry my vegetable in a pan, I'm gonna finish the sauce into the pan, add some cream, reduce the sauce for the steak, I have to warm up the mashed potatoes or do the fries, ready the sauce for the fries or ready the sauce for the mashed potatoes, and then this takes about 10 to 15 minutes depending on the thickness of the steak. That's one dish, 4 customers, only 1 table, right? So you see what happens here. The amount of time required to assemble, let's say, a table of 4 pretty much determines how many workers you have. If you have to do all of this by yourself in the kitchen with no help, well, then you're gonna do like 10 customers an hour. You're gonna do maybe 15 customers an hour. And hours are precious in our businesses because you get 2 hours for lunch, you may be getting 3 hours for dinner. That's only 5 hours of service. So if you do 5 hours at 10 customers, that's 50 customers a day. It's not a lot of money. It's not enough to be it's not enough to buy a house. Let's put it that way, right? So your menu determines this. This is why I built the menu. I don't know if we went through my menu. Maybe I should go through my menu with you guys. That's why I built my menu to be, everything is interchangeable and everything is simple but complex at the same time. It looks more difficult than it actually is, which allows me to do, we just came out of Chinese New Year here. It's like your New Year's, but it lasts 2 weeks here in Taiwan. And I was doing like 300, 400 customers a day every day. I simplified my menu for those days because it just wasn't happening. And I also asked for some help for some other guys who were on holiday to come and help me out to plate some plates because it just wasn't, I had to reduce my menu. It just wasn't happening. And so this is one thing you got to remember. Also, the more employees you bring in, the less money you make, right? Employees cost money, right? And they cost insurance, they cost retirement fund, they cost holiday pay, they get pregnant, it costs you maternity leave. So the more employees you bring in, the less money you make personally. And plus, managing employee, I reckon doing HR in a restaurant, I had 10 restaurants, I had 75 employees. HR was the worst thing in my life. I sold most of my restaurant because I just couldn't take it anymore. Everybody being sick every day, grandma die every day, 2 girls pregnant at the same time. I have to pay 4 months salary. And so basically the way I run my life now, the way I run my business now, is I try to keep as little employee as I can because I can do a lot. I'm a professional chef, I'm a professional waiter, I'm a professional sommelier. I know what I'm doing, right? So I know how to, what I try to do in my restaurant, right, is patch holes that I have in my employee gap, right? Because, for example, I know my chefs, I have 2 days in a week I have to be here and do stuff by myself. So I plug a hole instead of hiring another employee. Then I know I'm gonna be short of waitress 2 days a week. So you see there, I go plug another hole there for 2 days. And I'm always on the floor and I come to help in the kitchen, right? So I move front and back. Kitchen gets busy, I jump in the kitchen. New customers, I go in the front, right? So I try to do as much as I can by myself. And also, it helps me keep control of my entire operation because if you never go behind in the kitchen because you're busy in front, then you don't know what's going on in your kitchen, right? Then you have to go and inspect, and when you inspect, your employees get angry at you. But if you're in the kitchen with them, you see things on the fly, then you can advise and correct some issues that you might have. And the same with the front. If it's your new restaurant, you're a chef, and you're always in the kitchen, you don't have time for the front, then how do you know if your waitresses are pushing the right dishes, promoting the right items, upselling your customer with some alcohol or some fresh juices? How do you know if they're rude or not rude towards your customers? The cleanliness, right? Or talking to your customer is very, very important. I'd say 80% of success in this restaurant is me talking to my customer and having a good attitude with them, orienting them to the dishes they should eat or the drinks they should drink. So it's a lot of things to think about. So if you're thinking, I'm just gonna open a small place and me and my wife gonna do it all, well, the first questions you have to ask is, do we have the competencies to do that? And number 2, if we have hired some people and these people decide to fuck off because they're not happy with it, what happens to your business? You need a backup plan. You need to hire a chef and then you need to be in that kitchen with that chef and learn everything he's doing because in our industry, people, they're not here to stay. They're looking for the next best thing. And I'm lucky, well, I pay my employees well and I treat them well too. They're with me for like 6-7 years now. And but usually my newcomers, right, they'll stay for a year and then on to the next best thing and for a year, and so you can't really rely on your workforce to do things, right? Another advice I'd give you, if you find good people, pay them well. You make it so they can't leave your place, right? I know I have this argument with my wife. My wife is my partner in my business, but she's not from this business. I brought her in that business. And we have some arguments in the beginning. It's like, why are you paying her so much? I said, because I can't replace her, right? She's doing things here that I don't want to do and other people cannot do. So basically I pay people fair value and a premium above because other restaurants are trying to pay fair value. Everybody's trying to save money, right? So what I do is I just go to a place in a salary where this person can't leave. I did the same with my kitchen staff. My number one in the kitchen, she was with me for 7 years, and I paid her. I paid her so much money that basically she couldn't leave. She'd go back to another restaurant. She's gonna lose 50% of her salary. So, and she's doing things that I can do, but I need time to do other things, right? So basically, she's a double me in the kitchen. When I'm not here, I know she can do everything I do, so I don't have to worry about this part of the restaurant. And in front of my restaurant, the same. I pay, I was gonna say overpay, but I don't overpay. I pay what I think they're worth to me. So I know if I'm not here for 2 weeks, let's say I'm off to Thailand for 2 weeks, I know my restaurant's not gonna be burnt down when I come back. So, all right, so anyway, that's our things that you need to think about if you're thinking of opening a place. By the way, if you're only thinking of opening a place, don't do it. You have to be committed. It's a lot of money. It's gonna be a lot of time, and you're gonna suffer for a while. If it pans out. If it doesn't pan out, you're gonna suffer for a long time because you're gonna have to pay back that debt or rebuild your retirement fund. So anyway, that was that for today. If you have any more questions, leave in the comment section. I would ask you to subscribe, but hey, YouTube is not how I make a living. I'm just here to help. And that's it for today. Catch you later. Bye-bye.